When creating a listing on Etsy, it doesn't begin in your Etsy dashboard. It actually begins immediately after you created your product. Before you even open up Etsy, you need to start working on your listing assets. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you my tips on creating the most effective SEO-rich Etsy listing you possibly can. The first thing you're going to work on is the title. You will hear so many different methods of creating the perfect title for Etsy. Some folks will tell you to keep it simple, make it for humans, and just make sure it's full of great keywords. Some people will tell you to stuff all the damn keywords you possibly can. Who cares what it looks like? I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. I do feel like you need to phrase it in a way that makes sense, especially for humans, because that is your audience. You are trying to attract humans to click and purchase your product. So you definitely want to make sure that you're phrasing it in a way that is clear and makes sense and is super descriptive. But you also do want to keyword stuff in a sense that you want most of the words that you're putting in your title to be a keyword that is going to help people find your product as well. Here is a little example for you. If you were selling pink Boss Babe art printables, instead of saying pink Boss Babe art printable, comma, digital print, comma, office art, comma, wall decor, you could instead say pink Boss Babe art printable, the perfect digital office art print for your wall decor. You used all the same keywords, but you phrased it in a way that makes sense and it feels like you're talking to someone versus just filling the title with keywords. The title is still stuffed with keywords, but in a way that makes sense. Now, before just making up random keywords like I did for this example, you're gonna wanna make sure you do a lot of heavy research first. I personally do a lot of this research up front when I'm first creating my product, because a lot of the times I'm creating products that I already know people are searching for, hence I've already done a lot of keyword research. However, you might need to do additional keyword research at this stage as well. Lately, I have been using Sales Samurai for a lot of my keyword research, and you can get 20% off by using my link in the description. Next up, let's talk about your listing photos. Imagery is one of the most important parts of your listing, period. You can do all the keyword research in the world and make sure that your listing is SEO optimized, but at the end of the day, if your photos suck, no one is gonna click open your listing. Here's just a little example of how this might work. I'm a fan of Target. I don't know if you guys shop at Target, if you have a Target or whatever, but every single time I walk through the store, the women's clothing section is one of the first sections that I'm always walking past. And normally I just walk by, I don't even think anything of it. But every once in a while, they'll have this really awesome sweater or shirt at the end of the aisle that grabs my attention and makes me literally stop in my tracks and look at this item of clothing. Once I'm over there, I'm looking, I like it, and then I start seeing other things I like as well, and it draws me into the clothing section where I had no intention of being in the first place. The same goes for your listing images. So somebody's scrolling through all of these Etsy search results. Your image needs to stop them in their tracks and make them want to click on your listing. Once they find themselves in your listing, they're gonna review it, they're gonna like it, then they might even explore further in your shop, just like I do in the clothing section. So imagery is so super important because it's one of the only reasons that somebody actually is gonna click open your listing. Let's talk about the description of your Etsy listing. This is a crucial spot in your listing to make sure that your listing is optimized for SEO, not just for Etsy, but also for Google search. Yet again, just like the title, you wanna make sure this is stuffed with keywords, but in a way that makes sense. It's called a description, am I right? So make sure it's descriptive. Think about everything your customer might be wondering about your product and provide them the answers now. Yet again, this is great for keywords, but it's also gonna save you a lot of work in the future, because if somebody actually reads your description, a lot of their questions are gonna be answered up front, which is gonna save you a lot of time in responding to inquiries and possibly even lowering the amount of people that reach out to you after the purchase asking a lot of questions. So for your description, I would have the first paragraph be using all of the same keywords that you used in your title, really explaining the product and what it includes, and answering some of those commonly asked questions that customers might have for you. I might even provide them some additional instructions as well, and let them know exactly what's gonna happen after they make the purchase. Before moving on to my next point, I did wanna let you know that I just launched my very own Etsy audit service. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while now. I am obsessed with Etsy and what they do for for small business owners like ourselves, and I nerd out on everything SEO. So if you want an outside perspective on your listings and on your shop, check out the link in my description and see if this is something that you'd be interested in. Now let's talk about all of the additional details that you need for your listing. When you're starting to build your listing, you will see that there's a lot of other things that need to be answered. The category of the product, renewal options, digital or physical products. Obviously, since today we're talking about digital products, you would want to choose digital for that. All of these details are pretty self-explanatory. You're gonna know the answers pretty quickly. And the great thing about it is once you've done this once, you can simply duplicate this listing over and over again if you're creating the same type of product, so that you don't even have to do this every single time. So if you are creating art printables, for example, you should be able to duplicate this art printable listing, your description, a lot of these different additional deets, the title, all of them can be structured somewhat similarly, and then you can just make needed changes dependent on exactly what would describe this digital product best. Okay, now let's talk about tags. The tag section is so important for SEO. One huge thing to note is if you've already used a keyword in your category and attribute section, so all of those additional details, then you do not need to add them here. You are allotted 13 tags, and I recommend that you use every single one of them. They're also able to be 20 characters long, so I would stay away from single words. I would make sure that you're using as many of those 20 characters as you possibly can. So for example, instead of the keyword being boss babe, I would be more descriptive and say boss babe art print. Next week, I'm doing an entire video all about the do's and don'ts of tags for your Etsy listing, so make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss it. Your listing is starting to shape up, but now it's time to do the price and the quantity. Sometimes we just end up putting a random price tag on our products, and I am guilty of doing that as well, but really you need to think back to exactly how much time you're spending, how many subscription services do you have to make this product happen, like Canva, for example, or Sales Samurai. You need to calculate all of those numbers and make sure that you're pricing your product for profit. Regarding the quantity, it really doesn't matter, because if you are doing a digital product, you really have an unlimited amount of stock. So I would just pick some random high number like 100, and once it gets low in stock, you can always just add more to the quantity. Now it's time to upload your digital files, which at this point you would have already created. If art printables are something that you've been interested in selling, then make sure to check out this video here, which is how to create art printables that are ready to sell on Etsy. It will pretty much take you through all of the steps before this point. Thank you so much for watching, and keep your head in the clouds.